And hey, it's Evan Kirstel. Today I'm with two of my favorite people, Irma Rastagaiva, co-founder at Avira Health, and our guest, Audrey Sherman of 3M fame. Hi, Audrey. How are you?
Good. I'm really good, Evan. I'm really super excited to be here live today. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Well, we're super excited to have you here. We feel we've gotten to know you pretty well over the last year or two. But introduce yourself to the viewers and listeners. You're a 3M scientist and inventor. You have a lot of accomplishments to your name, to say the least. But how would you describe yourself in the 3M context?
Yeah, so I've been at 3M over 35 years now. I came when I was in 11th grade, so that counts for some of it. But I am a division scientist in the Medical Solutions division now, and I have worked on from everywhere from the gram up to the ton scale, and in polymer chemistry and a little bit of fine chemistry as well. But I have had my fingers in a lot of 3M divisions at the company, and it took up until about 4 years ago for me to land in medical, which is fabulous because I'm bringing with me a wealth of the whole company landing right here in medical. So sometimes they look at me a little crooked, like, where is that coming from? And, you know, I got to make a joke about, well, a sandpaper, you know, and a pavement marking tape walked into a bar, and this is what came out, you know. And so it's being able to bring all that background and all of that technology development that happens at this company every day, and being able to just focus it right into that medical area, which is really cool. And so that's what I get to do every day.
That's exciting. And you look like you're actually in a lab in a real working environment, not at home, which, of course, as an innovator and a creator, it's pretty fundamental to your work. But is it correct? You're one of only a handful of women in the history of 3M, which goes back like 120 years, to have exceeded the 100 patent mark. So you're pretty prolific inside and outside of 3M.
It,
What's been the secret there to that?
yeah, so there's only in the whole history of the company, there's only about 20 scientists that ever broke that 100 mark. I broke it, and I'm the first and still only woman. I broke it, and at the time I was number 13 to break it. So there's been, 7 or 8 guys after me to do that, but no other women. And what's really interesting about that is, my first boss, when I had my first patent, which was thrilling for me, I asked a simple question like, how many patents should you have? And he was like, well, you should have one a year, and I'd been there 5 years and I had one. And I was like, I'm behind. So I just really stepped it up to try and catch up. And I guess I never took my foot off the gas pedal, and they've just been rolling and rolling and rolling along. And again, it's so fun to be able to have to my availability of all kinds of technologies at the company, and literally say, I take something from here and over here, and we get the gang together and we do something that nobody, ever even imagined could work, let alone, we made it work. And so that's super exciting. Customers end up being super excited because we're bringing products to them that they literally couldn't ask for because they couldn't combine, something from 3 different markets into a product that they needed. So that's a lot of
Amazing.
fun.
No, I love the convergence stories that exist within 3M. And
That's
Irma, you're a med tech
Yeah.
obsessive as well. So you were pretty excited to have Audrey on the show here. What's on your mind?
Well, absolutely. And Audrey, we first met a couple years ago at CES, where I got to see firsthand both kind of the wealth of advances that 3M has in a variety of areas. We all know 3M from personal use, whether that's like command hooks around our house, the Post-it notes, which is a mainstay of businesses everywhere. And then, of course, during the pandemic, 3M came into focus as a maker of N95 masks. And now, as we've been working with 3M for a couple of years, we know just how many products and how much innovation is happening at that company, which is always exciting. And your background was 30 plus years at the company, obviously is fascinating. Now, today we're here to talk specifically about 3M's MedTech business. And you already started talking about how varied backgrounds and multidisciplinary approach creates amazing innovations in MedTech space. So could you dive a little bit deeper with us specifically about things that you're working on right now, things that you've seen develop in the MedTech space, and what might be particularly exciting kind of coming down the pipeline for us?
Yes, perfect. So a lot of my background at the company started in the area of silicone adhesives. And actually the first silicone adhesive that I was able to help the division make into a product was the command strips for your bathroom. So the ones that go in the shower, you know, those are that have the little blue foam on them. Those are silicones. And that was way before anybody started working with silicones in those general consumer areas. But we also knew that they could do something when it got to skin and be very gentle on skin. And so it was just a matter of time to make a shift from command hook to silicones for skin, and to be able to be very gentle on the skin, and be able to offer performance that the acrylics and the rubbers just didn't do. And so silicone PSAs and all their wonderful properties. Also, just before this, I came from consumer electronics area. And so that was fabulous. Cell phones, Wi-Fi, 5G, you know, wireless, all of that type of stuff. And so now in the med tech area, wearables, that, you know, my friends were like, oh my gosh, a lady with silicone and electronics is going to med tech. What's going to happen there? And it's like, guess what, you guys? We're going to have some really cool stuff coming out with wearables now. And how can we start to move that needle as we get to what everybody wants? Longer and longer wear time, you know, kind of you forget it's there type of thing. So I think those products coming along with that kind of combination, it's just going to really change the way things work. You really will be able to forget about it when it's been there so long that, you know, you don't have to worry. And then when you need to remove it, you won't have to worry, you know, that something's going to give you an allergy or, you know, a rash or something like that. The silicones are so nice and gentle. So it's really, you know, a match made at 3M, I can say for sure.
Yeah, and speaking of matches, you actually have services and applications like Find My Adhesive tool that allows you to connect different applications and different, you know, combinations of chemistry and adhesives. How's that work, and how do you build these tools that allow you to support all these variety of different customers?
Yeah, the Find My Adhesive is such a really I mean, first of all, it is a place to go. Everybody should go there because I'm lucky enough that I know my adhesive guys. So I have the 10 of them that I know to call. But customers that are, like I said, how can they imagine what they can make without having a base? And so the Find My Adhesive really allows you, through just a series of questions, what do you want to do? What are you looking for? Things like that, to really hone in. Here it is. This is what fits that need that you have. And it's so wonderful to be able to offer this, to our customers on the outside that may have, just the wildest idea that they want to do, and they're like, wow, but how am I going to get this to go right where I want and adhere, and how am I going to put it together? Find My Adhesive is a wonderful tool for that. You won't go wrong with Find My Adhesive.
And you won't go wrong with going with 3M. In fact, I was surprised to learn some time ago that, we always knew 3M science applied to life. But what you do for clients is not only offer products that they can use in their devices and their medical technology innovations, but you also offer that technical expertise, both to find the right product, but also in development, in design and manufacturability of products. Isn't that right?
Yes. So a lot of what we do in med tech is help people actually bring their product from the chalkboard, to it's a real hands-on device that's boxed up and sends out to customers. We can do that with, again, relying on the experience and the network that we have to make things, flipped upside down, stick them in this direction. What kind of shape do you want? How do you want to remove your liner and things like that? We have all that expertise and can help you all the way from, like I said, that initial idea all the way through. Guess what? Here's how you're going to have multiple of them coming off a line, boxing up, and going out to your customers. And to be able to involve us in each of the steps like that helps the customer be able to get through those steps with smoothness. I mean, we know how to do this because we've done it time and time and time again. And where we don't know how to do it, we have a lot of knowledge to learn quick on the spot. And so that's what you get with 3M. We're just applying science all the time. And whether it be new science or the science that we've used in the past, it doesn't matter.
I love that. And, I imagine you love all your customers equally, but do you have any particular customer stories or success stories that you'd like to share in the consumer or the med tech world that might be of interest to the viewers?
Yeah, I mean, the most interesting customer story was how we started with the wet command hook, because it was a customer that wanted to hang a lady's shaver, shave your legs in the shower, and they did not want to use suction cups. That's the standard, right? When you can't drill through your ceramic or your tile or anything like that, you're left with a suction cup. And everybody knows what happens to suction cups later on. They fall down all the time. And so this was a very, 20-gram weight plastic shaver. And they just, please, can you make a command hook that can hang this in the shower? Because we've tried yours and they don't work. And we were like, yeah, we never made them to hang in a wet environment. And they were thrilled when that happened. We had to do a company-wide search to find an adhesive that would do that. And it landed in on the silicone that I was working on, and it just took off. And now it's a huge area for the consumers. I mean, I use the wet hooks all the time. Doesn't matter if it's even wet. They'll work dry. I know they'll work wet. So.
How does that? So that's a great example of something, in a consumer's hands that gives them a power to solve their immediate problem. How does that knowledge and that research of adhesives performing well in under wet conditions, heat, etc., how does that translate into unique applications to skin, where you have to deal with patients from newborns to, late in life, where skin once again is very fragile, and things that have to work with human sweat and stand up to blood, etc. Tell us about that translation of everyday consumer focus to medical applications.
Yeah, so it's interesting that there's a lot of adhesives that 3M makes, and the scientists, they love it when you pull it off and the thing you pulled it from is just ruined, like a cardboard box. I pulled it off, and guess what? The box was just torn to pieces. And it's like, yay, good adhesive. But that's not allowed in people, okay? If they stick the body side molding onto the car and they try to rip it off, and it's like, look, it pulled pieces off. It's like, that's fine. Not allowed for people. So we're kind of, all of us are the substrate that we need to stick to, but we're not allowed to harm it. And so it brings in a different kind of thinking where that tug of war is what I've spoke about between the adhesive and the surface. It has to be very, very balanced. Most of the time, we don't care. Actually, we love it if the box would rip, and the tape would hold it. But when it comes to people, you have to be, we can't have, that can't be who wins the tug of war. The adhesive has to allow the skin to still function during the whole episode, as well as before and after. And it could be wet. It could be body fluids. It could be different temperatures. A body isn't room temperature. We're warm-blooded. Yet we exist in different environments. Some are air-conditioned. Some are not. Some are, in dustier areas than other ones. So there's so many things that come into play here, specifically regional. And then there's the whole, it's a biological surface, it's your organ. So what you eat can impinge on what happens at that interface as well. So to me, it's just, a crazy big box of factors now that you have to factor in when you're thinking about your adhesive. Way more many factors than if all we had to do was stick to steel every day and do a peel test from steel. I keep saying the man of steel never gets hurt, so he doesn't need medical adhesives, you guys. He will never have a wearable device on him.
Well, I'm the opposite of the man of steel. I'm a complete wimp when it comes to pulling the Band-Aid off. But in any case, you recently wrote an article in collaboration with the Arma 3M, looking at the role of wearable technology during the coronavirus pandemic. How did you see requirements evolve during this really difficult time? Anything that really surprised you? And how did some of the coronavirus requirements feed into your thinking and development process?
Yeah, it's, I once had a boss said the best way to get in the customer's shoes is to be a customer. Okay. And what happened during the pandemic lockdown is even I couldn't go do regular doctor visits. We're doing televisits. And, I saw that, I told my doctor, hey, I took my blood pressure today. Oh, you did? Tell me what it is. He's writing it down. Oh, and I happen to have a blood oxygen gas sensor. Oh, tell me what the reading is, So sitting there, I'm realizing, you know what? I'm the laboratory. for him now. I'm doing the diagnostics that normally he would just have show up, on his record, on my medical record. And it led me to think, more and more of this is going to move out. The equipment's available. People, how nice was it not to have to drive, find parking, go in there, wait in a waiting room, the televisit, it just snapped on when it was the time to be on. And I didn't have to wait and hang around. And I thought, this is really interesting. But you know what? I'm doing all the lab work for him. And I think that's where it's going to evolve, is imagine not needing to go to the lab and get your vitals taken at that time. But now with the wearables, you can have, that whole chart over time. And with data, you can start to learn these trends. And I think that for patients, it's just going to be absolutely fabulous. Instead of looking at a point in time when you have your visit, you're going to have a real medical history, it will be every day. Or, my gosh, blood glucose sensors every minute. And how much that data can empower the patient. I've seen that with my husband, who switched to blood glucose sensor. So there's a patient who really, didn't pay attention to what a certain meal would do. It was just like, oh, I just ate this. Wow, look at my blood sugar. Now with the wearable sensor, he's coming up to the point, oh, I'm not going to have that for dinner. Why not? Oh, you know what that does to my blood sugar? It just whacks me out for a while. And I'm like, how do you, he now knows this because he looks over at those trends. And so that data is so empowering to the patient. It's like, well, it's kind of like having your doctor there all the time. When he looks at your plot, he's going to see, what it was the whole time. So I'm really excited that it pushed that out faster than probably the physicians wanted to, and probably faster than the patients wanted it to. But I can't see why we would go back. I love not having to go down and park.
Yeah, it looks like
absolutely.
the innovation cycle is only accelerating. I'm reading now we'll probably have continuous glucose monitoring in the next Apple Watch, for the general public, which would be phenomenal.
I'll ask the next question. Yeah. So speaking of COVID, I wanted to dive a little bit deeper. So you were talking about wearable sensors and the real-time data that we can now have with the wearable sensors. Talk about, so in the article Evan mentioned, I wrote about microfluidics as well, and the importance of microfluidic technology to get, COVID. It's used in COVID testing and a lot of other point of care tests. So talk about the importance of that and the 3M's role in developing this technology.
Yeah, so we first used micro-replicated channels in graphic films, just to let air out from under the films. So you're putting a big graphic on a wall and you don't want a big bulge, or in the subway trains, all the graphics that go there, you don't want a big bubble caught under it. So these channels, air is also a fluid as a gas, but these channels let the air find its way out and direct its pathway. Well, they could be fluid based as well, liquid based. And so being able, 3M, to make these on such a large scale, teeny, pathways, And now we can start to pull that technology into this diagnostic area where you've got a fluid that goes in and it may take off in 10 directions, going to all these different testing that you can imagine, you know. And so it's almost like these microfluidics can make these little microhighways, you know, and it came out of just moving air around, and now it's sophisticated enough to move fluids around. Exactly how much fluid you want, where do you want it to go, and how fast do you want it to get there. All things that are just handles to play with. And so, like I said, that toolbox is like, we can do it with air. Well, we can do it with liquid too, you know, easy.
Fascinating. Fascinating. Well, just changing gears for a moment, you're admired and respected as a mentor to many women in 3M and outside of 3M in the STEM fields or an interest in STEM. Any advice you might offer women who are interested or on the STEM career path?
Yeah, I think my advice would be to totally stay curious, and nobody knows what you're learning as you go along. Nobody has your experiences. And just remember that those experiences are unique. And because they're unique, they're rare. And because they're rare, they're valuable. And so what you're learning as you go through a STEM career, it really is yours. It's valuable to others because they can't walk in your steps like you can. And I think the whole role of diversity comes in there. We have to have diversity. You can't get creative by having the same idea over and over and over again. And so we need these different viewpoints. Your viewpoint it's never wrong. It's yours. And so I encourage everyone who has that dream that they could do something, or curiosity that they could do something in a STEM field, to just go for it, because it's not about getting the right answers. It's about learning the answers. And so, you know, science is just a constant learning. I tell them we're not going back and looking at every odd answer in the back of the book. We're making the answers. So that means that any result you get is not a bad result. It isn't. So I think that's really cool about science, is that everything you do moves you a step further in learning. And how cool is that you're so unique in what you do. So you have to stick with STEM if you love it, and it'll feed back to you. It will.
I love that. And stay curious. That's wonderful. I'm going to put that one on the t-shirt for sure. But thank you so much for being here and joining us for this chat, this update. It's great to see you back in the lab, and we look forward to your next 150 patents.
I do too. It's going to be a wild ride.
Okay.
Thank you, Audrey. You're an inspiration.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Thank you both. This has been a great opportunity to talk to your audience and really encourage them to find their adhesive at Find My Adhesive. Stay curious and just be a scientist. We're not know-it-alls, you guys. We're learn-it-alls.
Ooh,
I love that.
That'll be fun.
You're full of witticisms. It's fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Audrey. Look forward to chatting next time.
Thank you
Bye-bye,
both.
Irma.
Have a great one.
Take care.
Bye-bye.